Welcome back to the Hannity program. Election Day is basically just around the corner, like 67 days away, close to something like that. The polls are tightening. The race to the White House is definitely heating up. Earlier tonight, I talked to RNC Chairman Reince Priebus about Donald Trump, his week, and what the polls are looking like. Watch this. Right, thanks for joining us. I've been hearing Republicans say all day that this race is tightening. Nobody follows the polls more closely than you do. If you could point to a survey or a set of surveys that indicates this race is getting tighter and the Trump campaign is on the rise, what would they be?
Well, I think if you look at both the Reuters poll and the Fox News poll, you have significant movement. Reuters had about 10 days ago Trump down by 12. They've got it even. Fox News has it within 3 or 4. LA Times has Trump +2. Look, clearly, no matter what poll you look at, Trump is moving in the right direction, but he's also been very disciplined with his message. I think he's been doing very well across the country. I think he had a great day yesterday in Mexico. So, look, we had the same thing happen after the convention, Tucker. When Trump gave that speech, he had the biggest convention bump in 16 years because people want the product that he's selling.
Right.
But just like Reagan in 1980, people wanted to make sure, like, hey, this is someone I can see in the White House. And when people view Donald Trump as someone that can be in the White House, the numbers surge because they don't want to buy what Hillary Clinton is selling.
Right. So when Trump talks about issues, in other words, he wins. When the race is about him, when it's a referendum on his personality, for example, it's tougher. Are you convinced that for the next 60-odd days he will keep the conversation on the issues he supports?
I'm convinced of that, Tucker. I mean, he's been doing that for the last few weeks, and I think he's been doing a great job. But secondly, I'd say he does have a good personality. I mean, one of the things that I don't get to say a lot in public is something that I say a lot of times when I'm doing events and I'm talking. People ask me what Donald Trump is like in private. He is personable. He is gracious. I have never once, and you know, we've had a lot of stressful situations in this campaign, and I talk to Donald Trump every day, sometimes twice a day. I have never one time talked to Donald Trump on the phone and hung up the phone and said, "Boy, what's up with this guy?" I've never, ever. I mean, sometimes in my own family, I wonder what's going on. But all I'm saying is the guy in private is a guy that the American people would buy in a heartbeat. And so as we're moving through Labor Day and you're seeing this disciplined campaigner and nominee, I feel very good about the fact that he's going to beat Hillary Clinton.
So he can be diplomatic. I mean, he had this, by all accounts, successful meeting with the president of Mexico yesterday, a guy who likened him to Hitler. So in light of that, in light of his interpersonal skills, why doesn't he fly to Dallas and meet with former President Bush and win his endorsement before this election and maybe bring over some of those Republicans who are skeptical? Why doesn't he try to do that?
I think that would be a good. I mean, it's a great idea. You know, look, I think, and this is, you know, I think that a lot of these folks are going to come around and they're going to do the right thing, and they're going to support Donald Trump. I mean, as to the folks that were running for president, I mean, they signed, many of them did, not all of them, but they all signed the pledge, of course, which agreed that you would support the nominee no matter who it is. Some of them also signed a data exchange agreement where they actually, on a legal document, agreed to take data from the RNC, and as an attachment, or as part of that document, they said, we will support the Republican nominee no matter who he or she is, with their signature on the paper, Tucker.
Yes.
So they should, I mean, if they're watching this, they should do what they promised the party to do.
But what about former President Bush? I mean, most of the Republicans in Washington, the most articulate, the loudest ones who are making the anti-Trump case now and arguing that it's immoral to support him, worked for former President Bush. And don't you think, therefore, that his endorsement might go a long way, if not to winning them over, that's probably not going to happen, but to maybe getting them to cool it a little bit before the election? I mean, that would be helpful, no?
Look, I think all Republicans should support the nominee, and I stand by that. I think in particular, though, people who signed an agreement. So I agree with your premise, so I'm not arguing with you. I just think that there's also another more obvious pressing issue, which is people that actually agreed to availing themselves of the forum that we provide, the debates, the states, the GOP parties out there that work really hard and spend a lot of their own money conducting caucuses and primaries. They rely on the fact that they know that there are people running that have agreed to support the nominee. I can guarantee you this. The GOP in Iowa in New Hampshire and South Carolina is not happy with people that ran for office, said they were going to support the Republican nominee, and are not.
Yeah, well, that's news to me. I didn't know there was a single person in America who cared what Lindsey Graham thought, but that, I guess it turns out not to be true.
But
I don't believe you. I don't think there's one person who cares what Lindsey Graham thinks. I won't hear otherwise. Let me ask you really quickly about
I care about Lindsey Graham. I think he's a great guy.
Well, that makes
I love
you
him.
unique. So, the candidate's position on immigration yesterday, I just want to make sure I have this one point absolutely clear. His position on illegal immigration, on illegal aliens, is they'll have to physically leave the country, not simply go to a consulate or embassy of their country, but physically leave our borders in order to reapply for citizenship. Is that right?
No, he said that during the process of, so he said a couple things, and which I think is a 70% issue in America. Number one, we're going to secure the border wall, security, get the criminal element out of this country, number two, and have the resources to make it happen. But then what he said, number three, Tucker, which people aren't discussing, is that after all those things are done, we're going to have an adult and humane conversation about what to do about the people that remain. And so that was part of the speech. I got lost a little bit today in the press.
Right.
But part of his message was, yeah, I'm going to be tough, and he is going to be tough, and no one, I don't think, is going to be any tougher than him. But what he also said is, we're going to have a humane conversation about what to do about the people that are here that are left. When he said that we're going to have, that everyone here is subject to deportation, that's the current state of the law. He knows that. I mean, and he agree, and that's what he's saying.
Right.
If you are here illegally today, you are subject to deportation. That is not a new policy position. However, what he's saying is, I'm actually going to try to enforce the law. But it doesn't mean he's going to start mass deportations for 11 million people that are in the country. He's saying, go after the bad elements and then deal with what are we going to do with the people that are left.
So he went on to say,
that part is what people aren't talking about.
I thought the most interesting part of the speech was when he said, look, the United States has a right to determine who comes here based on what's good for the United States and its citizens. Does that suggest that we're going to get a skills-based immigration system, not just one based on family ties or physical proximity, where we can, set limits on immigration based on what we think we need, our economy needs, what we can digest, et cetera?
Well, I think what he's suggesting is that we can have an expansion of what already exists in that math and science and engineering type tests for some particular areas of immigration that we need actually help in certain areas in the workforce. But it can be an expansion of that. The thing that's clear, I think, is that he wants to enforce the laws that are in place. He wants to secure the border, which, by the way, for everyone as a refresher, the Congress passed the border fence in 2006, and they didn't pay for it. It's been part of the Republican Party platform for many years, and we have a candidate that's willing to bring this case to the American people as a center point of his campaign, which I think is a great thing. But it's not to sacrifice humanity and decency along the way, and I think that part the media hasn't been talking about enough today in the part of his speech when he said, look, and after all this is done, we're going to have a conversation about the disposition of what to do with everyone that's remaining. And that's that big piece that's often debated.
Reince Priebus, chairman of the Republican National Committee. Great to see you tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.